Hello video, welcome back to the channel. I got my new friend Donald and I'm so excited to have him on the show. I met him the other day at Ground Zero and he's a bush pilot in Alaska. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, it's like one of the coolest things I've ever heard of. So thank you so much for coming. So tell me a little bit about how you ended up in Alaska and how you ended up being a bush pilot.
Well, when I was 18 and finally getting out of high school, I'd always just planned on going to the service, the military, and when I went for the physical, they told me I had bad hearing and that I couldn't do the jobs I wanted to do in the military. So a friend of mine was going to go buy an airplane, and when he was out test flying it, I was talking to the mechanic, and I asked him, well, what do you got to do to be an airplane mechanic? And so I went to school in Tulsa, Oklahoma for that, and my sister lived in Anchorage, Alaska at the time. She sent me a one-way plane ticket, and I moved up there and started working on the small air taxi operations, the little single-engine planes that haul 6 people around. And I did that for a while in Bethel, Alaska, the first 2 years. And then the company asked me if I wanted to move up north to Kotzebue, Alaska, which is 33 miles above the Arctic Circle.
Above the Arctic Circle?
Yeah, I was there for 14 years.
Well, now give me paint a picture of what it's like up there, living there. Like, give me an idea what your day is like up there, you know, and what the weather is like. You know, I mean,
it's everything's extreme up there. You know, the winters are cold and dark, and 44 below zero, and the wind chill 74 below sometimes. But then summertime, like the month of June, the sun doesn't go down.
And how warm does it get?
Probably in the 70s, yeah, maybe the 80s. The closer you are to the coast, the cooler it is, obviously. But inland, all the way to like Fairbanks is inland, you'll see 90 to 100 degrees.
Really?
But it also gets colder there too.
And I heard there's a lot of mosquitoes up there in the summer. Is that true?
The mosquitoes are big and very feisty, and they have like fur on them, and you'll see them at 50 degrees out. They're even when it's chillier out, the mosquitoes are out. They'll
So you learn how to be a mechanic, and then so when does that transition into being a pilot?
Well, I was working on the air taxi operations, and some of my buddies had little airplanes, and so I got into starting to help them out, and they truly appreciated having a mechanic on the friends roll.
Yeah, I bet.
And one guy got in an airplane, and there was partners on it, and one of them went and bought his own plane. So they said, hey, you should be go be a partner with this guy on this little Taylorcraft 1946 airplane.
1946?
Yes.
Wow.
And so I was a partner with that and got into flying.
Now, how much would a plane like that cost back then, approximately?
Maybe 25,000.
Oh, really? That's a lot, yeah. Wow, still, even for a plane that old, $25,000, yeah.
Yeah, so I bought into that, being a partner, and I did that for a while, and then come across a plane I wanted to own on my own.
Now, did you learn how to fly in that plane?
Some. The majority of I didn't fly alone in that one. I always flew with an instructor, and then when I bought my own, the one I bought was a 1941 Piper J5. It had tubing skeleton covered by fabric. It had wooden spars in the wings. Yes. Yes. It was 100.
This is amazing that flying in Alaska, you go down there, things get serious.
Right.
And there's no landing strips out there and places you're out in. A plane that old, it's amazing that they saw. Is it original engine?
No. I mean, it may have been the original at one point, but it's been rebuilt probably several times over the years.
Still a lot of the original parts, right?
A lot of the original parts are there, but they've been taken apart and cleaned and re-put back together. And some of the Super Cubs, which are more high performance single planes, not much of them is original. Maybe the data plate, but mine still was a lot of. It took some tinkering and ingenuity to keep her in the air.
Well, that's great that you can work on your own plane, probably save you a bunch of money, and also gives you peace of mind that you're flying something every thing about it, and you know what's right and what needs to be taken care of, and when something's acting up. So, I mean, when you said it gets to 40, 50 below zero there, are you flying a plane in that weather?
No, the coldest I ever flew was a 10 below zero.
10 below zero.
And see, the airplanes, they have a shroud that goes around the exhaust, and that's what gets you heat.
Yeah.
And the airplane itself isn't really airtight. So
It's not.
I mean, there's cracks between the doors and the windows, and it's not like a car where it's got foam seals and stuff. You do your best to stay warm. The person in the back seat has a blanket, and you do what you can. I mean, the engine's right there in front of you, so you get some heat kind of from that. But
how high are you flying, average?
well, the mountains sometimes are 8 to 10,000. So whatever altitude you got gives you options if the engine fails. More room between you and the earth. You have options if the problem. So when you're flying around, you don't look for places to land. You look for places that you can take off. Because you're flying around, you're always looking for, if the engine fails or something goes on with the fuel, you need a place to land. So you're always looking around for that, and you have to stay alert the whole time. Like I said, 8 to 10,000 when you're going to a location, but a lot of times you just run right above the tree line and looking for critters in the tracks and fish in holes. And
so what? I assume this is how you're making your living. So are you shuttling people around and taking people places and delivering mail, or what's your main?
The flying was just the fun private stuff. I wasn't making money.
Oh.
The plane would have to be for hire if I was making money on it, and then it's a whole other set of regulations for maintenance, and my training and everything would have to be different. I was an airplane mechanic, and that's
So
how I
the
made
plane
my
was like
living.
your car. This is your private.
Yes.
Yeah. This is how you got around Alaska.
Yes, and there was the town I lived in, Kotzebue. There's no roads leading to the town, so everything had to be flown in or barged in. And in the winter, there's no barges.
Wow.
So there was a lot of Eskimo villages around and fish camps that people wanted to go to, and they would the airplanes would fly people everywhere, and they haul all the groceries going to the grocery stores would have to go in the airplanes and then get flown out.
Well, you must have had people like asking you all the time, "Hey, Donald, can you pick me up this and bring me that, and can you give me a ride here?" Or
There was some of that.
Yeah.
There was some of that for
But
sure.
I guess a lot of people have planes up there, don't they?
Yes. Yes. Airplanes, snowmobiles, and boats.
And so tell me about your house where you lived up there. What was that like?
Well, I think it was about maybe 1,500 square foot. All the houses are on stilts.
Yeah.
They drill down into because it's permanently frozen. It's called permafrost.
Right.
And they drill down, put like pilings or posts down in the ground. Then they build the foundation boards on top of that. So almost all the houses are on stilts, and we had almost everything was stove oil furnace. So I drove a fuel truck for a while, delivering stove oil to houses, and
What was the population like in the town where
about
you lived?
3,000, 2,500,
small, huh?
3,000, yeah.
So I guess you know everybody, huh?
Yes. Yeah, after a while you get to, they say that every 7 years you throw all your keys in a pile and everybody trades vehicles and houses and wives, and it was just comical. The town I lived in is what they call damp, where you couldn't buy or sell alcohol, but you could order it from Anchorage and have it sent in, have it flown in. So it was kind of an expensive habit to have. And then the surrounding Eskimo villages were dry, where it was a felony to even possess it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean they would.
Why was this?
The locals then couldn't handle the alcohol.
Okay. That goes back like the Native Americans and stuff. I remember like they gave
like a
them
reservation
whiskey.
where
They just couldn't handle it. Yeah.
right. Well, it was bad. I mean, they would drink Lysol and Right Guard and
Oh God.
things like that. So it was heartbreaking to watch the alcoholism up there.
Oh, so they outlawed it, and did that help?
It just cost more.
Well, it just cost more, yeah.
200. You could out in the village, you could buy a fifth of whiskey for $200.
$200. Wow.
Yeah, and they would still smuggle it in and take it on a snowmobile out there. They'd order it and have it sent into Kotzebue and then ship
How
it
about
out.
drugs? Were there any drugs up there?
Yes.
Well, now, marijuana is legal in Alaska, isn't it?
No. No. It was,
I could have sworn it was. I thought they changed
unless
the law.
they've changed it recently, but when I moved up there in 91, it was like within 3-4 years earlier that it was outlawed.
Well, I was there on a ship. I don't remember when it was before I came here, obviously, and it was legal. I remember they had head shops and everything.
Do you remember what year that was?
2000, like 13, 14, 15.
Well, they may have. I moved in 2007
Yeah.
back to the States.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, like Michigan
Yeah.
made it legal. It's possible Alaska.
Yeah, Alaska and
allowed
all
it.
of Canada. All of Canada
Right.
made it legal, yeah. And so you were basically, were you working for yourself most of the time? Self-employed or?
No, I was working for like different airlines. They would be like throughout Western Alaska, and they'd open a satellite branch in the town, and we would all get a piece of the contract for the mail.
Yeah.
So they would be hauling that out to the remote Eskimo villages, and then customers would come in and buy tickets to go. And then let's say you fly to a village of like Kayana, and someone wants to go to Norvik, you'll pick them up, buy their, give their money, take them over to Norvik, and then you come back home.
What did you charge people for a flight? Like, what did it cost?
I have no idea. I could tell you about working on the planes,
Yeah.
but I never,
Yeah.
I never did the ticket sales.
Well,
part.
for yourself, like, did you ever fly at night?
No, I
I guess
had.
you fly at night during the summertime, it wouldn't matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's certain regulations where you have to have a night flight within a certain amount of time. So the pilots would fall out of that regulation over the summertime because it was light for so long. So when it started getting kind of dark or legally night, all the pilots would have to go and do a quick 3 takeoff and landings at night in order to be legal again for the following winter.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
So they would, and when I did get, I bought the plane and didn't have a license yet, and I was, a lot of our airline pilots that were flying the schedules were instructors. So after work, they would take me up and I would get certified in my plane. And
Nice.
after I got soloed by myself, I was probably doing more flying than I was supposed to be doing, but I knew I could do it by myself, so I just hop in my plane and go.
Wow.
I didn't have a license at the time, and I probably put on a bunch of hours.
Must
And
have
I
been
was like-
exciting then. How old were you when you were doing that?
20,
Early 20s?
28, 29,
28,
something like
okay,
that.
yeah. I mean, just to get in your own plane and fly, I mean, and it's
Yeah.
so spectacular, the
Oh, yeah,
scenery
it's
there. I
cool.
mean, it must have been amazing.
It is, but there's a lot of risk involved. My favorite time was when I had skis on the plane. I could park it closer to my house
Yeah.
and have an engine blanket, run an extension cord out. There's a lot more places to land in the winter because the
Yeah.
wind and snow blows everything out, and the snowmobile trails leading to all the Eskimo villages were like super highways, and you could land almost anywhere with the plane on those.
Interesting.
But if you hit a rough spot and knock a landing gear off or something, then you had better have told someone where you're going with your plane and when to return, when to expect you, so that if you're not back by that time, they need to come find you because cell phones don't work out there. And
Well, did you ever have any close calls? Anything ever would go wrong
Yes.
while you're flying?
yes,
What happened?
I took off, and the roof of the cabin of my airplane was plexiglass.
Yeah.
And shortly after takeoff, it broke free. So it was like wide open. All the air sucked in and went down inside the tail of my plane and blew out all the inspection panels. And I did manage to like horse it around and land again, but I was there several hours, and I seen a light off in the distance. My buddies were out checking the planes one night, and they go, "Where's Don at?" And they landed out there, and the old bush pilot that I've been learning things from, I got a chewing out that I didn't tell people where I was going and everything. And then I had an engine failure one time too.
Now, what happened there in that case? What happened?
Well, I was practicing on a strip along the shore. It wasn't like a approved strip; it was just a landing strip that on the shoreline. And all of a sudden, you know, out of habit, you look down at your engine, your gauges, and all of a sudden, the oil temperature was real high. I was like, "What is going on?" And I looked over the oil pressure, and it was low. It was starting to follow down, and I was like, "Holy cow!" And I turned and just out of habit started climbing and heading for town, and well, then the engine starts shaking, and the shaking's getting worse and worse, and I got to where I couldn't see the instruments so bad. The engine was shaking so bad, and slowly I'm adding more power just to keep my altitude, and now you're firewalled, you're full throttle, but you don't have full throttle. The engine's shaking so bad, and this, I was at 1,200 foot when that started, and when I got the 12 miles back to town, you know, I was at 600 foot, and the engine was shaking so bad I couldn't see the gauges at all, and I was lucky because it wasn't that long before that I totally rebuilt the wings and repainted the fuselage, and I was like, I don't want to wreck my plane. I just got done redoing it, and when I landed and taxied in, I shut the mixture off, and the prop came around and went, "Ooh," stopped. I had lost. It's a 4-cylinder plane. I'd lost 2 of the connecting rod bearings, and everything, it was eating itself alive. And but I landed and made it back. And
So you rebuilt the engine yourself and fixed it?
No, that engine was junk.
Oh, it was junk. It was gone?
I had to go with a different engine.
What's it cost to replace an engine on a plane like that?
Well, you it was probably 5,000 or 6,000 because I bought a used engine. Someone had upgraded and went to a bigger 150 horse engine, and I was looking for a smaller horsepower. The 150 wasn't approved for my airplane, so I found a guy in Seattle that had his old engine sitting on a pallet, and made a deal with him, and he freighted it up, sent it up to me, and I managed to put it on. And so
the fact that you could put it in yourself must have saved you a bunch of money, you know, that you could do all.
Yeah, I worked on a lot of there was a lot of guides that would take people hunting, fishing, you know, caribou, moose, bear, things like that. They would come from out of town and need help, so I would run over and help them. And some of the times in the middle of hunting season, you know, be out there at 3 in the morning with the sunshine and trying to get them back online because they had customers the next day. People from Wisconsin, Montana, Colorado, Wyoming.
Did you ever have any friends of yours that were pilots that went missing? They never found them?
They always found them, but
Always found them?
I had friends that died.
Really?
I had a guy that was 3 weeks older than me. He was one of the little airline I worked for. He was he turned 25, and then I turned 25, and then he was on a route hauling mail up, and got it flying low when he wasn't supposed to. Come around the corner chasing wolves and got into a box canyon where there was no way out. He burned, and his mom actually came up a couple months later to see where her son had been doing the last of his flying, you know, and see what his life was like. And her and I immediately hit it off because I was same age as her son. And while she was there, I was up fishing with a friend of mine, and I was in the back seat of the airplane. We wound up upside down in a river, floating in the airplane.
What happened?
He had full fuel and was taking off downwind, and just a couple of little mistakes. He thought the plane was more performance than what it was going to, and so we. But that plane actually 3 days later was put back together and back in town.
Really?
So that night the guys went out and drug it out of the water, and
You said the guy was chasing wolves. What do you mean, like chasing wolves?
Well, just he's seen the wolves down below,
Yeah.
and he thought it was cool, so he got down low and
Oh, just
following
wanted to
them,
just wanted to see
just
him, yeah.
sightseeing them. And it was a gorgeous day. We'd had like a week of bad weather, and this is the first day people were allowed to be out flying where it was above minimums. And you know, you're 25 years old, you're flying a single engine plane in Alaska,
Yeah, I
you're
get
really
it.
enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
And there's when you're flying, there's an envelope of safety, I think. When you're within that envelope, you're safe, but like outside that envelope is when the weather's horrible and you're really pushed to the limits of what you can do, and that's one side of the envelope. The other end of the envelope is it's gorgeous and sunny, and you take things for granted, and you
Let your
you
guard
get
down.
complacent.
Yeah.
Exactly. You let your guard down, and that's what happened. It was a beautiful sunny day, and he was by himself, so he didn't have customers on board, so you can kind of get away with, you know, you're by, you know, you can, as long as you get there, you can do what you want to
Beautiful
on
day
the
to
way
die,
there.
I guess.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes, and you know, and there was other wrecks that were friends of mine, and it was just beyond what they were able to do. And
So right now, what's your situation right now? You're here in the Philippines. What are you
Yes.
doing here?
I'm on vacation.
Your first
been
time here,
single-
right?
Yes, been single about 4.5 years, and things I learned from my divorce was I have to take care of myself and do things for myself. I've been provider and everything for decades, and now
You mean as far as taking your own self, you know, enjoying life?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
Yes.
you mean, yeah.
Yes,
You've been taking care of other people your whole life, and
Yeah.
now you're putting yourself first for the first time.
Yes, I've been.
And how old are you?
53. I turned
you're
53
young.
here in the Philippines.
Yeah, you're young here.
Yeah. I've probably got maybe 15 years before I retire, and
15 years, huh? Wow, that's a long time.
until I legally retire.
What are you thinking about doing? Are you thinking you might retire early? You're gonna 15 years is a long time.
I know it's a long time. I have no idea. I've never been in this position before. I've never been old before.
Yeah.
So,
So if you wanted to retire, could you now? And could you afford it, or do you have to keep working?
I have to keep working for a
Yeah.
while. Yeah, I went through a divorce, and I need to recalibrate everything. So definitely coming here has opened my eyes to possibilities. You know,
I heard in Alaska, like I've been to Alaska many, many times, but there's not a lot of women up there, is there? As far as men to women, it's more men than
Right.
women. Is that my understanding? Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. With for the women, they say the odds are good, but the goods are odd. I moved to Wisconsin about 15 years ago.
Oh, so you live in
Moved on-
Wisconsin now, okay.
Yes. Yes. I sold the plane and bought a Harley when I moved to the States, and raised my kids more to where they had more options. You know, up there is where, you know, I met my ex, and raised, you know, had 2 kids up there. My son was born in Anchorage. My daughter was born above the Arctic Circle, and I didn't want to raise them up there in the isolation.
Yeah, I
wanted them to
understand that. Yeah.
come down here, and they've had so many opportunities. And my son and I together did years of Boy Scouts, and he got his Eagle Scout, went in the Air Force, and my daughter's learned so much stuff.
Are you an officer in the Air Force, or what's he doing
No,
in the Air
he's
Force?
not an officer. Well, he just started in November,
Okay.
so he did basic in San Antonio. Now he's in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Is he going to fly?
No, he's in the Air Force, but he's doing cyber systems.
Okay.
So he's a super wicked smart kid.
Have you taught him how to fly, or does he fly at all?
No, I haven't.
He's not
he
interested,
was he was just an infant when I had my plane,
Okay.
and so young the kids really don't remember me flying, and experiencing that. When he was in the back seat, I remember him saying, "Dad, go up, down, because he liked the negative G's. So when I was flying, I would do
Wow.
that, and he
And
loved
so,
that.
what are you doing now as far as a job? You still a mechanic?
No, I did it for a while. I would drive to Dubuque and work on planes. Dubuque, Iowa is not far from where I live. I did that for a while, but aviation is different down here. It's kind of just a luxury sport or whatever. It wasn't, So I've been working on trucks. I was maintenance manager for a while with a concrete company, and now I'm driving dump truck for the concrete company. They, being a manager, I kind of got burnt out dealing with computers and people and things like that. And I wanted to, have a little more peaceful life. So I'm driving dump truck now, and stacking the cash when I can. And
You miss flying?
I do. I miss that lifestyle of the rush of every day being
You
out.
ever thought of doing something here in the Philippines? Because it's so hard to get from island to island. I think there would be, some kind of opportunity if you had a plane like flying from island to island here. I don't know what the laws are or anything, but
Well, I think it's south of town. There's an airport, and every time I'm driving, and I see a plane take off, my heart skips a beat.
so they're building a national airport here too in Bacong.
Oh, I was definitely trying to figure out how to get over there and talk to people and see what's if there's anything available.
You never know, there might be. Like you wouldn't make the kind of money you'd make in America, but it's like you don't need this kind of money and that kind of money in America.
Right. And I know I have a lot to offer because having been up there in northern Alaska, the working on planes was almost like triage, where you learn a lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Because the planes would fly 10 hours a day, and they'd have to be ready to go for the next day. So you'd really get in there, and the best you could do for a plane isn't good enough, because considering the terrain and what they're doing with them, and the freight that they would haul in the back of them, and I've heard of back in the earlier bush flying days, a friend of mine he had a big Caterpillar loader tire that he fastened to the side of the airplane on the outside.
Wow.
And hauled it up to a mining camp.
Wow.
And just the things, nowadays the regulations are so much more that you can't, for safety's sake, you can't do that kind of stuff. But
well, here I think instead of getting a job, because nothing pays well in the Philippines, and plus work permits and all that, but we just start some kind of a business that had to do with mechanics or flying or whatever. There's if your dream is like, it just seems like 15 years is such a long time to wait to live your dream and have another life, if you want to end up being here at all. I mean,
well, I didn't. I just got here like 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and I'm not sure it's my dream. I mean, I'm enjoying all this, but I haven't experienced enough of it to start altering the course of my life.
Well, that's fair enough. Yeah, I think that's really smart. I mean, when I came here, I didn't have those kind of options. I had to, it was a do or die for me. I just came here and, hoped it worked out. But the smart guys like you come here and they check things out, and they get to know people and put their foot in the water and see what they think, and and maybe it's right for you, maybe it's not, but you never know until you try. Like at least coming here and checking things out, you're not going to be sitting at home 20 years from now going, well, I wonder what would happen if I'd ever gone to the Philippines and checked it out. At least you'll know, so I went there, it's nice, but it's not for me. I mean, it's a guy that's from the Arctic Circle in Alaska, the Philippines, you couldn't think, it's like going to another planet. And so, and even Wisconsin's, a cold climate too, so it may not be for you, it may not be for you.
One of the benefits I think I've had of being in rough situations in my earlier years is not having all the modern conveniences isn't a game changer for me.
Yeah, that's
because I've lived in places that didn't have electricity or water, and I loved it. And where I'm at right now, the Airbnb is kind of primitive, but it's got electricity and water, and it's a really nice place considering. But I know some folks, it's like their world's ending if they don't have all.
Oh yeah, I know guys like that. They want to keep the AC on 24/7. So look, you're in the wrong country, man.
Yeah. I just turn it on when I'm there.
Yeah, I used to use a fan, but we're down by the beach. But two questions I've been asking guys lately on the channel is like, in your lifetime, what's the hardest thing you've had to go through? Biggest challenge you faced, in your life, and you came out the other side of it. What was the hardest thing you had to deal with in your lifetime?
Quitting drugs and alcohol.
Oh, really?
That was I had demons that I was battling for many, many, many years in self-esteem, self-confidence issues, and for me, alcohol was never a problem. It was always a solution. I would go to that when I needed help, and but it was poison, and it was ruining my life, and I wasn't going anywhere because of it. And having quit forced me to face a lot of my skeletons, and having done that has just given me ultimate freedom I've never experienced in my life before, where I'm not relying on drugs and alcohol to be free and be happy.
Right.
Being divorced was a horrible thing for me, but it forced me to face myself and be alone.
Right.
And some people, they can't be alone. They can't handle the, being alone like that. And me, going through recoveries, I've embraced my past and dealt with it rather than avoid it.
Yeah, you have to forgive yourself.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, definitely. And being the hardest person to be honest with yourself, or being hardest person to be honest with is yourself.
I agree.
And a lot of people like, well, I don't have a problem and I'm okay and everything like that, and they're not. And I've seen a lot of people lose the battle and not make it. And going through this has allowed me to recognize, when other people are struggling or whatever. I help other people achieve what I've achieved. And when you've been in the dark places and you've made it out, you've got a unique perspective that you can share with other people that are experiencing it.
Yeah, that's so true.
And when you talk to them, they're like, wow, that guy really knows what I'm going through.
Yeah.
And
If
I've
you
been
can
to
do it,
the
I can do
jails
it,
in the
yeah.
past and explain to them my unique perspective on things, and I've had them get out and go, you really helped me.
Wow.
And it's a battle for some people, and like I said, and I'm very grateful and very appreciative of where I'm at right now.
How long ago did you quit drinking?
5.5 years.
Good for you. Good for you. Okay, next question. What's the best thing that's ever happened to your life? And now most people will say, like, oh, my wife, my son being born, whatever. But aside from something like that, like, what was like a major changing point in your life? You look back and say, I'm so glad that happened to me because it sent me on a whole nother path.
Once again, the answer is recovery.
Really? Yeah.
And because I realized that I'm not a victim anymore, and that I'm the captain of my own ship, and if I don't like the direction my ship is going, I have all the power to change it and go a different direction and alter the course of my life. I don't, being a victim is a popular stance in the world, and a lot of people, they want to keep you a victim, and I refuse to be a victim, and if I don't like the way things are going, I have all the power to just change it.
If you think you're a victim, then you can say, well, it's not my fault.
Right.
And I have a
They don't
reason
take
to
accountability
to
for
use
their own
drugs and be
actions.
drunk or whatever, because
Right.
it's not my fault.
Right.
But if you accept responsibility, even though, I'm a stoic, and a stoic is someone who you can't control what happened to you, but you can't control how you react to it.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
And that makes a big difference in your life.
Yes. There's a event plus event plus reaction equals the outcome.
Exactly.
Some of the happiest people I ever met, I've been to Peru many years ago. They lived in a grass hut and they're sweeping the dirt floor and they're happy as ever.
That's here in the Philippines.
Yes.
I see my neighbors, they're washing their clothes in a bucket, and they don't have running water or hot water. They've got running water and electricity, but they're a very, very primitive lifestyle. They're happy and content, and it's all in the point of how you think about things, how you view life. And so many people I know here that poor people, and somehow they've managed to put their kids through college. Like my wife's family, they've all been to college, all the kids.
Yes.
And they had a dirt floor in their house. And somehow they got their kids through college. So, yeah. Anyway, it's been a real pleasure meeting you, Donald, and thank you so much for sharing your story, and very inspirational. And if you decide to move to the Philippines, I hope we can get to be friends, and I hope to see more of you. And If you don't, I hope you find that special place.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm very glad that we got to meet, and this trip has been a pinball change in the game of life.
Yeah.
You know, it's really opened my eyes to what's available out there.
Well, great. Well, thanks for
Thank you.
watching, everybody. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you next time. Bye.